Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the login.php. And if we open up the login.php, you should be able to see that it's got two functions. It runs a main. Okay, it's got two functions. So in the main, this is pretty much the same as the signup.php. So we've got a connection here. Make sure that it says connect user bookshop.php. Okay, this is where we capture the input, so we get the JSON. So I'm just going to test that the login script picks up the JSON code again. Okay, so we should die. That means it stops. So it won't carry on and do this, but it will stop here, die. So I'm just going to save that and just make sure on the JavaScript that we've got the right file. So it should be dot slash, not three dots, just two dots, and that's there. So now if I go to my page, which I've got open here, so you can see I've just run it. So you can see if I click on it, there it is. So it's picked up from my page. This is what the PHP, it's the PHP is getting. Okay, that's the payload that it's sent in, and that's what the response is on the other side. So it's picked up the email and it's picked up the password as Fred. So it's got those two things. So that's great. So in my login.php, I'm going to comment those back up so that we can carry on. What it's got to do, it's got to run a subroutine called check user. So it's got to check that that user is actually in the database and that the password's correct. And then when it comes back, it sends a response, and hopefully that will be our web token. Remember, the whole point of this is to get a web token back. So here we've got check user, and it's got the data, which is the data received, and it's the connection. Here's my response. So there'll be a success code, there will be a web token, and there'll be a message. So that's what we're going to send back. So this is what I'm picking up. So I need to do a select query from the table called customer. And I want the email and the password. That's what I want to bring out. I'm going to check the email is correct and the password is correct as well. So I've got select email and password from customer, where the email equals whatever the email I attach to this parameter is. Okay, so I need to bind this, okay, to it. So remember in the signup.php, we did exactly the same thing. Okay, and we did a bind here. Okay, we did a bind. So we did a prepare and then we did a bind. So let's just make sure that we've got exactly the same thing. So we should have something like that in the login. So there's my SQL and I'm preparing it. So that's just the same. Okay, so $SQL. So that's my query. And then I'm binding the parameter. That's my email. And then I'm grabbing the password from there. So I want to try it first. I want to get that data back first. I want to see I've got a username and password back. So I'm going to try and execute that. So there's a try and there's a catch. So I'm going to try and execute that query. So it should run this query. Okay, that's the idea. And it should pull me back an email. It should be email and password for that user. Okay, so question is that email correct? So if the email doesn't match anything in the database, I'll get 0 records back. So this is a question to ask if there is one record back. In other words, if we found it. So if there's one record back, then we can carry on and do something else. If there's no records back, then we don't do anything, because we're just sending back success code of 0, nothing as a web token, nothing as a message. Okay, so this says if there is one record, then this grabs that data, okay, into a dictionary. Okay, so it grabs the username and the password, grabs the email and the password. Okay, so we can grab those here. So we get it into a variable called $user. So now we can say $user square brackets password, which is the password part of user. There will also be an email part of that. We don't need that at the moment. And we take that and we run a PHP function called verify, password verify. So we take those two, the password that users entered and the password that we have, come back, and it will match those. You'll look at the encryption and it will match, see if it match the two together. That's a built-in function in PHP. So if that comes back as true, that they are the same, then we can generate a web token. So that should already be in our code, get token, and that will generate that and put it into our web token part of our response here. Okay, and the success code is 1. Otherwise, we're going to send back a success code 2 saying the password is incorrect. Now, we wouldn't normally do that, okay, but we don't want to say the password's incorrect, but just for our sake, that's what we're going to do. So if there are no records back, it'll just send back. And if there's an error, it will send back the error message. So 2 means that the password was incorrect. 0 means that there was an error in the program itself. Okay, so let's save that and let's try that out. Okay, so let's try that out with this password, a username password combination. We've done the editing on the server side, so we don't need to look at the client side. So if we click on login now, right, it's saying the password was incorrect. Okay, and I think that's probably because I've got a capital F there. Okay, so it's come back with that web token password was incorrect. So if I try putting in Fred lowercase, so hopefully it's got an error here. So let's see what it's called. So get token isn't there. So I'll need to make sure the get token is in that place. So let's see. I thought I'd put them in here. Yeah, there it is. And verify token, get token is there. So let's just make sure of the path. So in login, so it should be, where's get token? Right. So the thing that I haven't done, I haven't included a link to this file, get token. So I need to require that file as well. So that is not in Connect, that's in token. And I want to get it from token.php. So let's try that again. Again, I don't need to refresh this page because I've made a change in the back end. So there we go. Right, so that has done something now. So that's what was sent, and you can see it's logged in, and it's got that. It's got me to show all books. And now if I check in my application, and there's my web token. So it's delivered back to me my web token here. So you can see it's this big long encryption string. Okay, and that's got details, encrypted details of the username and password. So we'll talk about that. It gives us a signature. But now, every time I want to access the database, then I can send this token, and that'll be my pass. Okay, so this is now I'm logged in. Because this token is here, I'm logged in. So we can make it show various things if we do that. But for the moment, that I'm logged in. Okay, that's what we need to know. So that's what you need to make sure you've got working.